air around us. We have learned in chapter 9 that all living things require air. But have you ever seen air? So one question is asked. Have you ever seen air? So air is not visible. We cannot see air. We can feel its presence. Yes. You might not have seen air, but surely you must have felt its presence in so many ways. So some examples will be given here in how you have felt it. You notice it when the leaves of the tree rustle or the clothes hanging on a clothesline sway. So we see hanging clothes start moving. Okay, they sway. Okay, in a motion. Okay, so they swing rather. They sway and swing along with the wind. So pages of an open book begin fluttering when the fan is switched on. Okay, so when you switch on the fan and book is open, the pages start fluttering. It starts making some sound and start turning one after the other. The moving air makes it possible for you to fly your kite. So moving air, that is wind, makes it possible for anyone to fly kite. You Do you remember activity 3 in chapter 5 in which you separated the sand and sawdust by winnowing? So winnowing is a process of impurity separation with the help of wind. So lighter particles and heavier particles are separated in the process of winnowing. Winnowing is more effective in moving air. You may have noticed that during storm the wind blows at a very high speed. Okay. So the storm blows with very high speed. Okay, it may even uproot trees and blow off the rooftops. So many trees gets uprooted and many houses rooftop get like they also fly away or blown off. So have you ever played with a firki? Okay, have you ever played with a firki? Firki means this fan. So this also moves with the help of air. When you blow air from your mouth also on it, it will start rotating in its place like this, right? Because it is the structure is like that. When air will come, air will push its wings, and it cannot go back, so it starts rotating in its position like this. So activity 1 is to make a firki. How you can make a firki? So this is a paper and you cut it here and you are able to make a firki like this from this paper. So activity 1. Let us make a firki of our own. Following the instructions shown in figure 15.2. Hold the stick of the firki and place it in different direction in an open area. Move it a little back and forth. Observe what happens. Does the firki rotate? What makes a firki rotate? Moving air, isn't it? So firki is rotated with the help of the wind or moving air. Have you seen a weather clock? Weather clock is this one. It shows the direction in which the air is moving at that place. So in which direction air is moving. So it will point to that direction. 15.1. Is air present everywhere around us? Okay. Is air present everywhere around us? And the answer is yes. It is present everywhere around us. Close your fist. You will say, I have closed my fist. Is there air? Yes, it has air. What do you have in it? Nothing. Try the following activity to find out. You say nothing in terms of object that can be seen or visible, but you cannot say nothing in terms of air because air is in your fist. When you fold it, also it is there. So, activity 2 says take an empty open bottle. Is it really empty or does it have something inside? Turn it upside down. Is something inside it now? So, it is saying take one empty bottle, okay, and turn it upside down. So, and it is asking, is there anything inside it? So, we don't know. But the answer is yes. There is air inside the bottle. Okay. So, to prove that, this is one small experiment. So, as per this experiment, you have to take some water in a bucket and put that empty bottle with upside down into the water. So what will happen? Your observation, you will see that the water will not rush into the bottle. Okay, at some level it will stop and it will not get into the bottle. So what is blocking the water to go inside the bottle? So it is the air inside the bottle which is stopping the water to get into the bottle, because air needs space and it is not allowing the water to get in it. So observe the bottle. Does water enter the bottle? Now tilt the bottle slightly. Does the water now enter the bottle? Do you see bubbles coming out of the bottle or hear any bubbly sound? Can you now guess what was in the bottle? Now, when you tilt the bottle, you will see water gets into the bottle and some bubbles are coming out from the water. So, what is that bubbles? So, bubbles are made up of the air which were inside the bottle. So, as water gets in, the air also gets a space to go out. Okay, so air comes out and it turns the water into bubbles while coming out. So, can you guess what was in the bottle? So, there were air in the bottle. Yes, you are right. It is air that was present in the bottle. The bottle was not empty at all. In fact, it was filled completely with air even when you turned it upside down. So, when you turn the bottle upside down, then also there were air in it. It In fact, it was filled completely with air even when you turned it upside down. That is why you notice that water does not enter the bottle when it is pushed in an inverted position, as there was no space for air to escape. When the bottle was tilted, the air was able to come out in the form of bubbles, and water filled up the empty space that the air has occupied. This activity shows that air occupies space. It fills all the space in the bottle. It is present everywhere around us. Air has no color and one can see through it. It is transparent. So, air has no color, it is colorless, and anyone can see through it. So, it is transparent also. Our Earth is surrounded by a thin layer of air. This layer extends up to many kilometers above the surface of the Earth and is called atmosphere. So, the layer of air surrounding the Earth is called atmosphere. So, you can learn the definition here. As we move higher in the atmosphere, the air gets rarer, and when you move up in altitude, the air will become lesser. Okay. Now, can you think mountaineers carry oxygen cylinder with them? Yes, they carry them while climbing the mountains so that they can breathe. Oxygen is less because air is less, so they need to carry oxygen cylinders with them. Okay. Now 15.2. What is air made up of? Okay. Until the 18th century, people thought that air was just one substance. So earlier people used to consider air as just one substance. They didn't know that it consists of many gases. Okay. So experiments have proved that it is really not so. So air is just not one thing. Okay, it is not one substance. Air is a mixture of many gases. What kind of mixture is it? Let us find out about some of the major component of this mixture one by one. Water vapor. We have learnt earlier that air contains water vapor. So it is very common thing. Water is everywhere. So we know water vapor is also there, because when air will evaporate, it will turn into water vapors. So we have learned earlier that air contains water vapor. We also saw that when air comes in contact with a cool surface, it condenses and drops of water appears on the cooled surface. So this you can see on the window glass in the winter. Okay, so the because of the room inside is warm and outside temperature is cold, so the atmospheric water vapor inside the house will settle as water drops on the window pane. So you are able to clear this out using your fingers. Okay, because the water vapor what has turned into water drops from inside of the window from inside the house on the window. Okay, so it says that, see once again. We also saw that when air comes in contact with a cool surface, it condenses and drops of water appears on the cooled surfaces. The presence of water vapor in air is important for the water cycle in nature. So presence of water vapor is very important, and because of this only we have the water cycle in nature. It is a natural process. Water cycle is a natural process. Now oxygen. So activity 3. In the presence of your teacher, fix two small candles of the same length on a table. So it is saying in presence of your teacher. So teacher will guide you. So it means that, okay. So you will not get hurt or not get burned. So in presence of your teacher you can perform this experiment because fire is involved. So two small candles are taken, both are lighted. Okay, so both are lighted and burning. So light both the candles, cover one of the candles with an inverted glass. So both are burning. So when you cover one of the candle, it will stop burning. Okay. So why will it stop? Because after all the oxygen are exhausted inside the glass, the candle doesn't get any more oxygen to burn. So burning process needs oxygen. The presence of oxygen is required to burn anything. Okay, so this experiment shows that air was inside the glass, so it burned for some time, and after some time when oxygen was exhausted, it stopped burning. Cover one of the candles with an inverted glass tumbler. Observe both the candles carefully. Do both the candles continue to burn or go off? You must have observed that the candle covered with the glass tumbler got exhausted after some time, whereas the other candle continued burning. So, which was covered with the glass tumbler stopped burning, and other one was burning as it was burning earlier. So, what can be the reason for this? Think about it. It seems that the candle got extinguished because the component inside the glass tumbler which supports burning is limited. So some component of air supports burning. Okay, so glass had that, and when it gets completely over or exhausted, then the candle stopped burning. Most of the component is used up by the burning candles. However, the other candle is getting continued supply of air, but the candle which was not covered got continued supply of air. This component of air which support burning is known as oxygen. This component of air which supports burning is known as oxygen. So the presence of oxygen in atmosphere can be can be shown by this experiment. Question can be there that demonstrate with an experiment that air contains oxygen. Then you can show this experiment with this figure drawn and these things written. Okay, just understand it and you can write it in your own words as you understand it. Now nitrogen. In activity 3, did you observe that air is still present in the glass bottle even after the candle blew out? So, in previous activity, did you observe that air was still there? Only oxygen was not there, so it stopped burning. but air was still there when the candle blew out. This indicates presence of some component in the air which does not support burning. So it indicates that there are some other component in air also present in air which does not support burning. The major part of air which does not support burning candle is nitrogen. So nitrogen is the component of air which doesn't support burning. Okay, it doesn't allow the candle to burn. So it says that. Now another component, carbon dioxide. In a closed room, if there is some material that is burning, you may have felt suffocation. Okay. This is due to excess of carbon dioxide that may be accumulating in the room. As the burning continues, carbon dioxide makes up a small component of the air around us. Plants and animals consume oxygen for respiration and produce carbon dioxide. Plant and animal matter also consumes oxygen on burning and produces mainly carbon dioxide and a few other gases. It is advisable not to burn dry leaves and discarded remains of the crop which pollute our surrounding. So when anything burns, it produces carbon dioxide. So it is advisable not to burn paper, dry leaves, or crops, okay, remains, because it can create more smoke and pollute the surroundings. So another thing is dust and smoke. The burning of oil also produces smoke. Fuel means the vehicle that we run. Okay, petrol, diesel, those things. Smoke contains a few gases and fine dust particles, and it's often harmful. The smoke is harmful. That is why you see long chimneys in factories. So that is the reason factory have long and high chimneys. They will release the smokes very high in the atmosphere, so the surroundings won't get affected. This takes the harmful smoke and gases away from our noses but brings it closer to the birds flying up in the sky. Dust particles are always present in air. Now, activity 4. Find a sunny room in your school home. Close all the doors and windows with curtains pulled down to make the room dark. Now, open the door or a window facing the sun just a little in such a way that it allows sunlight to enter the room only through a slit. So you can keep your room dark and just a small opening should be there so that sun rays can come in from a small hole or partially open door. Okay. Look carefully at the incoming beam of sunlight. So when you will see the beam of sunlight, you will say, I am seeing the light, I am seeing the sunlight. But actually, there are dust particles in the air which you see. So light falls on the dust particles and get reflected back to our eyes, and we are able to see those dust particles. And it gives us the impression that we are seeing the light itself. But actually, in actual, we are seeing the dust particles. Okay, so that gives us the direction of the beam of light. Do you see any tiny shining particles moving in the beam of sunlight? What are these particles? During winters, you might have observed similar beam of sunlight filter through the trees in which dust particles appear to dance merrily around. This shows that air also contains dust particles. The presence of dust particles in air varies from time to time and from place to place. We inhale air when we breathe through our nostrils. Fine hair and mucus are present inside the nose to prevent dust particles from getting into the respiratory system. So we have mucus and hairs in our nose that doesn't allow dust particles to enter in our lungs. Okay, so it filters out. So we try to avoid, still we try to avoid going near to the dust and smoke because it cannot filter everything. It just restricts some movement, but it can enter, still enter. Okay, so avoid going to the dusty places. Do you recall being scolded by your parents when you breathe through your mouth? If you do that, harmful dust particles may enter your body. So, breathing through your mouth, more of the dust particles you can get along with the air. So, it is advisable to breathe through the nose. We may conclude then that air contains some gases, water vapor, and dust particles. The gases in air are mainly nitrogen, oxygen, a small amount of carbon dioxide, and many other gases. However, there may be some variations in the composition of air from place to place. We see that air contains mostly nitrogen and oxygen. In fact, these two gases together make up 99% of the air. So, nitrogen and oxygen contents in air is 99%. The remaining 1% is constituted by carbon dioxide and a few other gases and water vapor. Now 15.3. How does oxygen become available to animals and plants living in water and soil? So all the living things doesn't live on land. Some animals and fish or other organisms live in water and some lives under the soil also. So how do they get oxygen? This topic discuss this thing. So activity 5. Take some water in a glass or metal container. Heat it slowly on a tripod stand. Okay. Well, before the water begins to boil, look carefully at the inner surface. And you see the inner surface, what do you notice? Of the container, inner surface of the container. Well, before the water begins to boil, look carefully at the inner surface of the container. Do you see tiny bubbles on the inside? You will see tiny bubbles inside the pan. These bubbles come from the air dissolved in water. When you heat the water to begin with, the air dissolved in it escapes. Do you continue heating? The water itself turns into vapor and finally begins to boil. We learned in chapter 8 and 9 that the animals living in water use the dissolved oxygen in water. So, the animal which lives in water uses the oxygen that is present in the water in dissolved form. The organisms that live in soil also need oxygen to respire, isn't it? How do they get the air they need for respiration? So, activity 6. Take a lump of dry soil in a beaker or a glass. Add water to it and note what happens. Do you see bubbles coming out from soil? These bubbles indicate the presence of air in the soil. When the water is poured on the lump of soil, it displaces the air which is seen in the form of bubbles. The organisms that live inside the soil and the plant root respire in its air. A lot of burrows and holes are formed in deep soil by the animals living in the soil. These burrows also make spaces available for air to move in and out of the soil. However, when it rains heavily, water fills up the spaces occupied by the air in the soil. In this situation, animals living in the soil have to come out for respirations. So, when it rains and water will get into the soil, so air will have to come out. So along with that, animals and organisms living in the soil also come out of the soil to breathe, otherwise they will not get enough air to breathe. Could this be the reason why earthworms come out of the soil during heavy rains? So this is one of the reason why. So this is the reason why earthworm comes out of the soil when it rains heavily. First, they also need to breathe, so they have to come out on the soil for breathing. Have you ever wondered why all the oxygen of atmosphere does not get used up, though a large number of organisms are consuming it? Who is refilling the oxygen in the atmosphere? So many organisms living on land, in water, in soil, all are consuming oxygen. So from where oxygen is coming? What is producing the oxygen? Okay. So now this topic will discuss that. How is the oxygen in the atmosphere replaced? In chapter 7, we read about in chapter 7 in chapter 7 we read about photosynthesis. In this process, plants make their own food and oxygen is produced along with it. Plants also consume oxygen for respiration, but they produce more of it than they consume. Okay. So plant also need oxygen, but they produce more oxygen than they consume it. That is why we say plant produce oxygen. It is obvious that animals cannot live without plants. The balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is maintained through respiration in plants and animals and by the photosynthesis in plants. This shows the interdependence of plants and animals. We can now appreciate how important air is for life on Earth. Are there any other uses of air? Have you heard about a windmill? Look at figure 15.12. So this is the figure of a windmill. The wind makes the windmill rotate. The windmill is used to draw water from tube wells and to run floor mills. Windmills are also used to generate electricity. Air helps in the movement of sailing yacht, gliders, parachutes, and aeroplanes. Birds, bats, and insects can fly due to the presence of air. Air also helps in the dispersal of seeds and pollen of flowers of several plants. Air plays an important role in water cycle. So these are the few applications of air and how we use it and how it helps us. So this chapter discusses about the air around us, and these are the few keywords to know. So you are done with chapter. Now you can learn question and answer. Okay.